and I'm not just saying this to be a hero, okay? I'm not trying to sound like some badass because I'm not. If I had the option or the moment arose where I was in a situation where there was a robber or a shootout somewhere and I somehow had a gun or a way that I could be behind the corner and have enough sense to talk to the person who's not just a raving lunatic with a semi-automatic rifle going through killing people for no reason. If I could get in there and say, I will not shoot you if you put the gun down. Like, I understand, like, you'd have to have the time to say this, but this is where my heart would be at. And if I didn't have the chance, and they were shooting, and I didn't get the chance to say this, I would shoot them in the leg, or try to stop them with the most violent force, with restraint, with intent to disarm, and not to harm. To harm as little as possible, with as much force to stop them as you can, without harming them, to the littlest degree that you must, in order to stop them from harming others. I would, if I had the chance, I would say it in these kind of words. I would say, please, put your gun down. I will only shoot at you if you shoot at me. From this moment forward, if you shoot one time, and you happen not to get me, and I'm lucky enough to live, I will shoot you in the leg. If you keep shooting, I will shoot you in the side. I will make sure you drop your gun. But if you drop your gun now, I will take responsibility for this whole thing. I will be responsible for you, and they can shoot me. I will guard you. I will protect you. Doesn't mean I want you to escape. But no one deserves to die. You're unconscious. You need somebody to help you. You were once a baby. You did not think you were going to go shoot somebody. But guess what? Life fucked you over, and you're trying to get even. I can help you. You can be a totally different person, and you can be happy. We can forgive you. The family members would be like, not me. But the other people who weren't family members would say, I don't know those people, so sure, I guess I could forgive them. I won't even think about it after I get over the drama. But because somebody personally was involved, they would be like, I'm not okay with that. And I would still say exactly what I'm saying right now to them. Like, listen, we got to help this dude. Killing him is going to haunt your soul, because later on you're going to really know that at this moment you felt like getting even. And you thought it was right to punish that guy, because his family is now going to be punished whether or not he goes and gets killed, or whether or not. Like, so if you say you put somebody in jail for the rest of their life, his parents and his family are still being punished by losing him to that identity, to that theme that now comes up about that criminal. And if they don't die, see, I'm not going off because I said what I was going to say. And if they don't die, and they stay the whole time, they're being punished. And if they do get put to death penalty, they get punished, because they lose him and another life was lost, or another crime was committed. This is all soul work that everyone has to learn to be like, listen. Another example that we had was, we were driving earlier in Xavier. I was talking to him about, the difference between some people. Like, my brother got in a car accident today, and when he came back, he's like, that motherfucker, and that motherfucker, and I understand you get mad. But if you can say, oh, everybody's okay, I'm okay, this is just a car. Sometimes I look off to the side of the road, or I'm trying to get something, or turn the radio down, or up, or something, and you swerve a little bit. Sometimes that might happen in somebody that you didn't see was there. Sometimes you bump something on the side of the road not knowing it was there. And sometimes you just try to make the red light, and some guy goes through the green light, and you try to make the red light, not thinking, yeah, I'm going to plow into this asshole. But you speed up trying to go through the red light, and you hit somebody at a green light. So you got to be like, listen, dude, you messed up. I'm just telling you the truth, you messed up. I have nothing against you personally, and I understand people make mistakes. And that's hard to do. It's really hard to do. You got to get your conscience, because your trauma's going to go, oh, you fucker, my car, oh. But it's okay. You're alive. This is a challenge. Every day is a lesson. Some are way more meaningful than other ones, and some of them may not seem like anything. You would sit by a pond and meditate and get a very meaningful lesson, and you can go through a heartbreak, and it could seem like a very meaningful lesson, but that pond meditation could have meant more than all that, because it would have brought that and other harm and other hard things up, and you can work through them. Everybody can. So if I was in that hostage situation, I would do that. If that person harmed somebody, and I would explain that to the person whose family member or whatever is harmed or killed, we have to learn how to truly be conscious. That's true consciousness. If it isn't, somebody please tell me what it is. You know what I mean? Or else, yeah, I'm going to shoot him dead, because that's not going to, that's going to bring the person whose family member was hurt. But then that person has to work on, well, if my family member died, then that person should die too, because that's what I want to see. It would make me happy. Later on in their life, they'll realize that if they stand behind that decision, it's not going to make them happy. Even if it's one of those things where they just see the loss of their family member, and that guy who did it was to them always just some criminal who was never there, just this bad name that did that. He's also done other things, and it's like they were magical and great, and little his first steps and all that kind of shit. It may not seem like it means nothing, but he's still learning too. He'll be another spiritual being. If you kill somebody this lifetime, you're not going to just be able to go to the next spiritual level. Like if I killed somebody, I'd have to go through this again. I'm not going to do that. So I would never harm anything. I can't even kill a fucking flower without, like I wouldn't. Okay, I can kill a flower because plants don't necessarily die. I only pluck things and I try to leave parts of them there. And when I take them, they're going to join with me. They're going to be me. They are me. And I know that. That's why I wouldn't kill an animal, because I will eat a plant, because plants aren't really dying when you snip them the right way and they are left to grow, because if you just left them there, they would wilt and dry up anyway. And that doesn't mean they're dying. They're just going back to that form in the soil, and they hold their mycology and all the fungal, and they come back next year. Anti-perennials, they get dispersed or eaten up by the fungal and used for other things. They're still alive. They're just in a different flower next year or a different weed. Usually there's certain simple weeds that sort of aerate that kind of DNA out of it, what we could call it, like plant DNA. Say you have poison ivy. I like that I have a bunch of topics here because I got through one and I went to another one, and I'm actually saying some really meaningful shit here. And like plants and shit like that, when you have dandelions come up all the time because they blow all their seeds. When you have things that don't drop any seeds or don't what's that word you call, propagate by their leaves or their vines or their stems falling off, pieces of things can fall off and sprout too. But sometimes if they're a plant that doesn't do it that way, say it dies back down into the ground again and forms back in with the mycology and all that microbiology, all that kind of shit, the fungal body, whatever you want to call it, because there's tons of ways to say it. But it can go back down into that, and next year it'll show up as one of them simple grasses, like canary grass and those kind of things. And people would say, well, what happened to the form it was last year? I'd say, what happens to the form that all your food was when you throw it in the garden and you grow corn or you grow cabbage and you used last year's cuttings of corn and tomatoes and you threw them in your garden and rototilled it in. You just spread that energy out. It went back into the fungal thing to keep that energy into the brine, what we could say, because a mushroom is basically brain, with brine on top of land. It's big, massive thought, spores, spirit. It literally is that. Spore is a spirit. People just don't think it. Every mushroom sends off billions of spores, billions of little spirits. Where do you think they go? Animals eat the vegetables and plants that they fall on. They are beings. Mushrooms are beings. Plants are beings. Mushrooms just have more concentrated stuff in them. That's why there's so many of them. But they can give people and animals a bridge into that spot. So, like a dandelion of this year will be a mushroom of next year. And when you eat that mushroom, it will have a little bit more of the memory of those things. And if their memory is rotting and dying in that area, you'll feel sick because you're getting the memory of the mushroom. You may even have a visual if you eat enough of them and you get sick enough. And I know that because I've done it. And I can actually I know why that stuff happens to me now. Like if I was taking any mushrooms or anything like that, and I wouldn't feel the psychophysical effects that most people do because they're looking for a psychotropic wowness. I'm feeling it in my body and seeing what it really does, and I can feel that some of them will make me more hot, or some of them will feel more rotty, and it'll be like when I got those mushrooms and the acid, like the acid was just more like I can't get visuals anymore because I have more visuals without it. I went through 200 hits of acid myself, and it didn't do anything. And I'm serious. It's not like I just got them to throw them away so I could act cool. I wouldn't waste the money. I did them. I did them all. Yum, yum, yum. It was fun. It was like smoking a bowl. Didn't do anything. I mean, smoking a bowl actually does more because I had the control to not let it happen. I felt it in me, but I realized that if I wanted to see stuff, I could close my eyes and meditate anytime. It's just I don't spend my time trying to say, wow, I amazed myself with something. Oh, it's so real. Of course it was real. It was in your head. Everything in your head is real, right? No. I saw visuals. Were they real to you? Well, not real physically, but they were real to me because they were visuals, so they were real to you. No. Well, you know what I mean? Yeah, I know what you mean. Psychedelic is also real because it's actually what's happening, except you didn't have to make other people do it. The plants that you consumed show you the spirits of the spores that got inside them. That's what's happening when you take a psychedelic. Because acid, that's a mold. What do you think mold is? It's kind of spore. And maybe science will say mold is a spore, but it's forms from air spores that land on things that don't really contrast with it. Like, say, those little round little things on the middle of a weed. You ever see those weeds that have those little round nuts in the center of the, and like, that's like a mold, but it's also a worm that goes up through the ground, in through the stem, up through the middle, and makes an egg. And it burrows its way out as a little worm. You can fish with them. We used to with Mike, and I wouldn't now, but I mean, they're little tiny worms inside those things. It's pretty awesome. And they grow up to be caterpillars and butterflies and all kinds of different shit, moths, different shit, different plants with different things. I mean, I'm sure those exact per plant it's per certain thing. I'm sure, but yeah. And I don't want to keep going, but the last thing I want to say is, those kind of canary grasses and simple grasses, when a plant in their fungal genome area, we'll say, that area, that fungal mat, spreads for miles. In certain areas, it pops up with certain things. If a lot of certain kind of grass falls in that area and it all stays together, it'll be the same kind of grass next year. But if you sprayed it with True Green Chemalon, your grass will look like one certain seed because it'll over-dominate those other ones. It'll go down into the ground over the summertime or the wintertime when it's covered with snow. Or it'll stay right there and be the same. And then as it grows, that'll grow through more and you'll cut the rest off and the other grass will die. And other things in the forest, in the woods, when they get covered with snow, they mold into the ground and they grow next year as whatever the most dominant DNA of the mat fungal genus is. Like, tons of acorns fall on the ground. Not all of them turn into a tree. Some of them mold into the ground and give food for other plants. Some of them are eaten by animals. All of them are still acorns from a oak tree, but doesn't mean they're all going to grow oak trees. And some are going to dissolve into the ground and feed a beech tree. It sounds funny to say it that way, but people can honestly think, well, yeah, I never thought of it that way. The leaves off of this tree dissolve into the ground over the winter if you don't rake them up. They dissolve into the ground, they compost, and they'll feed a mimosa next year. A mimosa. I almost said mar, because my mom and dad say marmosa. But they would, like, that tree right there. The leaves fall on the ground over here, and it grows little mimosa sprouts because that's a stronger, more, like, it has more tree DNA of that. That sprouts all over the place. That one drops little sprouts over there by the well house. But that mimosa tree was growing over there by the well house, which the tree right on top of the well house isn't a mimosa tree. But remember, like, Mike cut it down with the lawnmower? That was a mimosa over there from this tree because its leaves can propagate. It propagates really easily, but from its roots, not its leaves. Anyway.
From here, it just catches on top of other trees and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and it does have seeds that fall down, but my dad usually, we rake up so it's not like the.
And I'm sure there's a couple over there somewhere.
Well, this tree was here before. Oh, they put that one in, and they got that one when I was like 6 or 7. So like that's just got more DNA in the ground. So its fungal mat of its area spreads all the way over there, even stronger than that tree. But this also feeds that tree, and that also feeds this tree, and they talk through their branches. And people may think that's stupid, because I don't think that deeply about trees. Trees are just trees. They're just wood. Yeah. They're just water and seed. It started as a little tiny seed in water and light, and it's fucking 70 feet tall. That's not impressive to some people because they just don't think. That's more impressive than a lot of things. The fantastic
$100 billion.
Yeah, $100 billion. You can make it out of that tree, but that tree it's so much more meaningful than that. There's life on it. That $1 billion is just life sucking because other people are either going to use you for it or envy you for it. But I don't want to get into money. But the trees and the fungal mats, that's more for people to learn. So then they'll respect the trees enough to not really be making bullshit stuff and bullshit products and just bullshit, period. They'll start growing things in their own homes. That will cure the ground. You cure the ground, it cures the air faster. You cure the air faster, you clean the smog faster. You clean the smog faster, it rains fresher water onto the oceans and all the lakes that are polluted. You do that enough, it will clean itself as long as we continue to help it. It's not very hard. Can you hear that concept? Isn't that pretty cool? It is a very easy concept. You clean up the ground and you plant good things. You start understanding fungus.
Don't kill other stuff.
You don't yeah. You let nature happen and you try to escort it. We're here to be the gardeners of Eden, because you can look out in your grass and look it up. They're all healthy for you. It's the garden of eating. But we've been lied to. So don't let that hold you down. Now you know the truth. And me and Xavier are going to get blazed with a motherfucking now and play dad and son. Woo! Woo! Even though we're the infinite ones together.
Yeah.
Along with y'all, whoever hear this. And we love you.
Yeah, we love you.
Peace. With the pound. Yes, it's pound with the sound.
Try one more time.
One more time. I'll keep my hand right here by the speaker. Right. Yeah, that was a pound with the sound. Later. Peace.